Hello, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. Hi, this is Ganesh Naik. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for the FRM and the CFA exam. I have with me one of my students who has been able to clear the November 2022 FRM Level 1 exam in the first attempt. She's going to be talking about her journey of preparation and also what are the challenges she felt in the entire journey. And the reason why I'm doing a lot of these interviews is to make sure that a lot of people who prepare on their own, they don't get guidance, they don't get support. So by watching all of these videos, they will have some idea how other people are clearing the exam. So let us start with the discussion. Poorva, thank you very much for taking out time and talking to us. And for the benefit of the audience, if you could tell us when you started your preparation and what is the brief background about yours.
So thank you very much, sir. Pleasure joining you. Hi, my name is Poorva, and I have around 12 years of experience. I've always been in treasury, in corporate treasury, bank treasuries, and all of that. Um, uh, I I left India in 2020, and when I left India, I was sort of heading treasury, and shifted to Denmark. And here, I again got the treasury to work with, and that's the reason I thought FRM would be a good point to and a good certification to get, because here the mode of working and the analysis is completely different in Europe. What we do in India, at least I have not been getting into those kind of analysis, and I thought FRM would be a good way to get into the details, back into the studies, back into the basics, and also to stand out when I apply to some other places. So yeah,
Wonderful.
that's my background.
So this has been your first competitive exam after graduation. Am I
Yes,
correct?
and it was a big task for me to get into the studies again after 12 years. But yeah, I'm glad that I could do it.
Okay, wonderful. And when you started your started discussion with me and we started the journey,
Yeah.
you started with treasure, right? With the way we highlighted you. And what has been the journey from there? I mean, how much time you were putting? Were you following the same order that I had given you?
Actually, so I talked to you first time in May, and you were the first person I talked about it. And before that, in April, I got the guard book. And when I got the guard book, I was completely confused. Those four giant books, I was not sure how I'm able to do it. And it was very much into depth, which I thought would not be needed in my day-to-day, work in office. And that's when I called you. And we had a discussion in May, and that's why I joined you. So, and then you suggested to follow the Schweizer's book. So I used to refer GARP just for very basic reasons, but
Mhm.
mainly I followed the Schweizer's book.
Okay.
And yes, you gave us an Excel with the tracker and the sequence of the chapters. I realized that the first 10 or 12 chapters were more related to theory.
Mhm.
So I thought probably I can do it later. And I started with the practical, the numerical related chapters. So that's how I
Okay.
started my preparation.
Futures and options chapter.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes,
And how
absolutely.
much time you were dedicating every single day?
Because I am not in India and I have no help here. I have my daily family course, so not more
Mhm.
than 1.5 or 2 hours. And
Okay.
I couldn't give more on weekends also, not on Saturday, Sundays, because I have other stuff to do.
Mhm.
So on an average, 2 hours, not more than that.
2 hours. So you started watching the videos, and did you
Yes.
started solving immediately, or it was after some gap?
No, no. So because I was, when I looked at the books first time, I was sort of completely lost. I thought that book one and book three is quite manageable because that I've been doing all my 12 years of experience. But I was really lost for book two, stats, reading after 12 years. After my MBA, it was a big task. And I was
Okay.
really yeah, worried about it. And book four, I thought it's still manageable. So I thought कि नहीं ये हो जाएगा.
Okay.
And so I thought let's just go with one read, the first read, where I get a sense of what's in the chapters, how to go for it. So that was my main aim. I started watching your videos, reading chapters, and
Mhm.
making notes at the same time, because it's
Okay.
very important what you're understanding. You put it in your words. So that's how I started.
Okay, great. So when was the time that you completed your first reading of the content?
Um, uh, I remember it was somewhere around mid of August. I thought I should be able to do it by 5th or 6th, but I got delayed by a week or something. So by
Mhm.
mid of August, I could complete the first reading.
Okay, and then you started your revision. So you have seen the videos till then. Then you started
Yes.
revision with okay
Hmm.
with the
Yes.
solving of the question
And
bank.
yes, so the revision and my main idea, because when I was doing my first read, I could sense that there are a lot of concepts which are interrelated in various chapters. And in the second read, my main idea was, of course, to revise and at the same time connect those dots, connect those
Right.
concepts. And that's how my notes also started changing, because now I had some sense. At the same time, I was also confused and making some finer notes. So that's how my second read started. And at the same time, what I was doing when I was revising a chapter, I was also doing the
Mhm.
question back at the same time.
Got it. And when did the question bank got completed? And I was also assuming that you were still giving only 2 2 hours.
Yes, not more than that. I could not give more than that.
Okay.
So I completed my first reading in August mid, and then the second reading, my target was mid of September. Sorry, mid of October. But because we've just reached Europe and we thought we'll travel, so we were traveling also, and that got delayed. So I completed by October end, just 15 days, 15 days before my exam. My
Okay.
exam was on 11th of November
So by the end of October, it was two readings of the content, solving of
with
all
the
the
question.
chapter-wise questions. Now,
Yes.
what was the confidence level around that point in time?
Frankly speaking, first after the first reading, I thought I understand everything, but do I remember anything? And I was sure that I don't remember anything. And that's when
Okay.
I called you also for the guidance. I said, "Okay, sir, yaad nahi hai kuch." तो आपने बोला, it's quite common. Just keep reading. And by October end, I was, because I was also making notes and doing question bank. And when I was doing question bank, I also made sure that all the questions which I was not very sure and I got confused, I took sort of a screenshot and put saved it into a Word file. So I was also revising them so that the concepts remain clear and I remember them. So by October, I was like not very confident, but okay. I was not very confident on book two because that was always my weak area. But then I was okay because book three, uh, it was like कर ही रहे हैं तो हम हर दिन. Book one was also
Okay.
like that. Book four में मेरे को थोड़ा सा लगा था, and book two was completely out of the control. So by October end, I was okay doing that. But the
Okay. So
third
you were
revision that
good.
I did after that, for a week, that was very, very important. I just gave my 100% uh, in the last 15, 20 days.
So the time commitment increased in that 15 days.
Increased, yes, yes, of course, it did.
Okay. Okay.
I set aside some work, my office work. I asked for the help from my family, and yes, I had to increase, and I just gave my 110% in those
Got it.
20 days, last 20 days.
So then in that 20 days, you again did the first revision. Did you solve the sectional test by any chance?
No, no, I could not
Okay.
because I also got a little sick during the October end. So no, I couldn't do it.
Okay. And then you basically started revising the content, entire one end
Yes,
to end once,
yes.
and then you went for mock.
Yes, I went for the
How
mock.
many?
And when I was revising, it was not completely from the book, but more from the notes because I was giving a
Hmm.
lot of time making notes. And actually, that helped me a lot in revising the third time, where you get a full picture of what's happening and how everything is getting questioned, the questions and the concepts that comes in the answer, the explanation. So that was very nice. And I gave two mocks. I could just give two mocks. The first one that you provided, the Fintelligent, and the one was from the GAP. The GAP.
What was the average
Uh,
score?
in your mock, I didn't get much. I get around 60, 58 or 60. But in the GAP, I could manage, I think, 68 or 70,
Got it. Okay.
or rather, a little more than that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So basically, when before you went to the exam, there were now three readings, solving of the entire
Hmm.
chapter was question and two mock papers that you had
Correct.
done. Now, when you went for the actual exam, In that first 1 hour, how was it?
In the first 1 hour, the first 10 questions were like very smooth sailing. And I was
Okay.
very happy कि ऐसा exam आया तो I would like crack it completely easily. But then the tough questions started coming. 5 3 questions. They were like very very tough. And but because when I also talked to you before I went to the exam, and you said that अगर questions आते हैं tough, just leave them, just put it on the side of a paper and just keep continuing what you're doing. So I did that, and I did not panic actually. And towards the end, when I was coming towards the end of the test,
Mhm.
uh, I remember 10 to 15 questions easily. They were so tough. It was like nobody could solve it if I mean, they were connecting 3 4 concepts together, making a numerical out of it, and there were like 10 questions like that. And then I could find at least 15 questions that I could not do it towards the end. So overall, it was, I remember 18 questions were there that I had marked that I have to do or I could not do it.
18. Okay. And what are the total
18.
bifurcation of theory and total bifurcation of calculation?
I actually had a lot of numericals, around 30 35 easily.
Okay.
Yeah, I was expecting theory questions more, but not to my luck, I got more numericals.
So how was your performance in the numerical questions?
So numerical, I was really scared for book two, but book two I could manage. I don't know how, but for the book four, I was very confident in book four. But it just I don't know. I also not could not get good quartile. So I was doing okay in numerical, but
And
I
what
was
about
really
theory?
hoping to get some theory questions. I was very good on concepts.
So 65 question went well, or the theory questions?
Huh. Yes, theory questions, I was very confident. And numericals, not all were very tough. And I could solve some were like really just plug and play into the formulas. So I was confident about that too.
Okay.
So yeah.
And when you came out of the exam, was there any number in your mind that I've got this much correct?
18 तो I was sure कि नहीं है सही. Uh, और but मुझे लग रहा था कि 30 might go wrong, even worst to worst case. 30
Total
or
30.
30 something. Ha, total 30.
Okay. So 65, 70, something is
Ha,
there in your mind.
65 ke aspas, I was okay. And I also called you and you said, we also sort of talked about it. And you said you will get 60, 65 easily.
Okay. Now, after the exam, the results are out. What have been your quartiles?
And book wise, 1 2 3 4, I got 1 2 2 and 3.
1, 2, 2, 3. So
Yes.
book two, which you initially felt problematic, you did really well.
Yes.
Book
Yeah.
three, book four, basically now, but third
Book
quartile.
three, book four, yes. And I really want to mention this point because, as I said, I was really scared about book two. And I remember I called you. It was around probably 10 10:30 India time, and the discussion that we had. I don't know what happened after that, but the way I was looking at book two just completely changed. My approach towards book two completely changed, and I think that's how I sort of gathered courage and started working towards book two. Otherwise, I was really scared initially.
Okay, okay. This
Yeah,
is very
and that
common. I
really
mean,
helped actually.
this is very common. The fear for quant is
Yeah,
so evident in a lot of working professionals because they have not picked up a calculator. They have not done those things in their
exactly.
career because everything is now on Excel. So
Absolutely.
and and I don't know. It's in India also a lot of India public sector bank employees. They have assumed that they don't know math. They have assumed that they don't know statistics. So
Yeah, yeah.
that is actually, and if you look at the content in the exam, there are a lot of theoretical questions that will come from book caught,
And
the
which
book two.
came actually. Yes,
Yes.
and if you are conceptually okay, you can easily do that. So I would really suggest if somebody is looking at this interview and have this fear towards quant, just the first thing is that leave that fear out of your mind and start book 2 with a very fresh approach. It's not a Hindi में कहते हैं ना
Yes.
हुआ नहीं है ये, it can be
Aram se, you
dealt
can
with.
easily clear. Because if you,
Yes.
the reason I asked you in the first that Swedger, did you start it from Swedger or
Hmm.
not? All of this because when
Hmm.
you read online forum or you watch
Yes.
another videos and all, everybody is saying read GAR, solve bionic
Hmm.
turtle material, all of these things, then only you will be
Yeah.
able to clear. So
No, no.
automatically it demotivates a lot of students that ये
Yes.
नहीं हो सकता. But
नहीं
I've
नहीं.
seen young people also clearing with no background, no
Yeah.
corporate experience, still they're able to clear this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I
now,
would also like
huh,
to add this point that when I started this journey and when I saw books, I was like, it's so theoretical. Do I really need this in my corporate world? But then because I had decided, I still thought that let's just give it a chance. But when I started reading the books, sometimes when you work at a corporate, you do some things so unconsciously that you don't get to understand the basics behind it. For example, Reuters,
hmm,
if you're doing some valuation, you would just do the valuation. But what's
hmm,
happening at the back, you would never, try to
understand it,
understand.
yes.
Yes, but
You'll
this
not
is
even
a
have the
very good,
time to do it. You'll not even have the time to
never.
understand it, yes.
Exactly. And when I was doing this study, I could so relate to the work that I thought it's been such a best decision to study it again.
Okay, okay. And
Yes.
then, uh, if I would ask you that, give 3 tips from your own experience of how to prepare for the FRM level 1 exam, what would be those 3 tips?
The first one is that you need to have a plan. And make your plan. And if somebody is associated with you, you generally give this Excel, which is very, very helpful. And you need to put a timeline against it. A sub point to that would be that I've heard a lot of people saying that you start quite early. But for a working professional, I would not suggest that because it's a very rigorous journey, the 6 months journey. And I don't think you would need more than 6 months, because if you do that, you would dilute your effort. You would
Hmm.
not be remain encouraged throughout your journey. And I don't think you can give 100% for 9 months or 10 months, because you're also a working professional. So I would say that 6 months is enough, and I would say that 3 months for the first reading, 2 months for the second reading, 15 days for the third quick revision, and 15 days for mock. So 3, 2.5.5. You can
Wow.
divide the whole journey into that. So this is my first point. The second is, do make notes. When you're doing the first reading, your notes would look very different compared to what you make notes in your second reading. And compared to what you do in your third reading, they would be just like very quick flash that you are preparing for your last minute revision. And making notes is very, very important. You can watch videos, you
Mhm.
can read books, but till the time you make notes in your own words, it's very difficult to grab things in such a 60 long chapters course.
Right.
The third is that you need to have a mentor. And because I joined you, so I really liked talking to you when I had a problem, and we had a discussion and we came out with a solution. I think that no, everybody can teach you, but mentoring is very difficult, and it's very rare to find at a time that you really need it. So be it your friend or your teacher, but you need to have a mentor to have to discuss problem in such a long and difficult journey.
Wonderful.
So these are the
Wonderful.
three things.
And now, when the results are out, what has been the reaction of people around you? People who from your corporate side, and what has been the reaction?
They thought that, yeah, I will clear it. So when I cleared it, they were like, yeah, we know you clear it. But I know कि नहीं भैया ऐसा नहीं होने वाला था. मैंने मेहनत
Okay.
करी है तो हुआ है. So
Okay.
they're quite happy. And the good thing is, probably it's not the result of I cleared the exam, but when I cleared the exam, it actually instilled a confidence in them that, yeah, I am not a loose and person. I really do the job good, and things have changed here in corporate a lot. a lot good for me. My family is super happy. They have seen me tolling all the night and giving my best, so they're also very happy.
Right. And the one point that I want to add over here is it creates a perception that
Exactly.
you know things. Corporate
Absolutely.
is more about perception that what whether a person is working or not, whether a person is
Yes.
knowledgeable or not. So
Yes.
from that
and
perspective,
and
it's
and that perception, if you're studying and taking exam, people think that you're really serious about your studies and
right,
your knowledge, and once you clear it, it just gives a stamp to it, so it's very,
right.
very good.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you very much, Purva, for talking to us and giving the insight on the journey. Because a few things that you explicitly mentioned, like 12 years of around 12 years of gap from your
Yeah.
last actual preparation or the exam or college, and then the way you prepared, 3 months, 2 months timeline, all of this will definitely help a lot of students who are preparing in the future. It will motivate them to go for the
Yeah.
exam that it doesn't matter if even if I'm working, I can clear the exam. So you practically started in May. Okay.
Yes.
So it's like 5, 6 months maximum that you prepared and
Yes.
you went for the exam. Okay. So
Yes, exactly.
definitely those people can also clear in 5, 6 months if they put in consistent effort towards the preparation.
Yes.
So thank you
Yes,
very much for taking
absolutely.
out time and talking to us
No
and
problem.
sharing your
Yeah,
journey. Thank
it
you.
was a pleasure, sir. Thank you.